thank you, Ileana. You can tell that Dr. Pina is a member of our national board of the American Heart Association, so she's been fully indoctrinated and had all the Kool-Aid. So,
Totally.
As Ileana has said, the AHA registry for cardiogenic shock has really built on our 20 years of Get With The Guidelines. And I'll just mention a couple of things to underscore what Ileana just said, and that is we're in about 2,600 hospitals in this country. So to a certain extent, it makes contracting somewhat easier. And we also have registries in heart failure, CAD, resuscitation, just to name three, so that the data fields had already been created to a certain extent before we jumped into cardiogenic shock. So that helped a lot. And we also had to harmonize a number of different registries. So building from the discussion we just had, one of our first steps in building the cardiogenic shock registry was there was a huge spreadsheet that included the SHARC definitions, several other big registries, and we looked at every single data field and harmonized them so that ultimately people can keep their own registries intact and still enter that data into the registry, like 3CTN that Dave Morrow has been so helpful of. And that's a good opportunity to say thank you to Dave Morrow and to Mitch Krukoff, who are our volunteer PIs of this. And if I could tell you how many hours and hours they've spent making this work. Just to review quickly, the registry really was designed, our mission is to better understand the clinical manifestations of the phenotypes, we've just talked about that, management patterns, outcomes in patients across the nation, and to improve the quality of care, which is what the AHA is so fundamentally addressing. There are a number of other aims which I know you've heard in past discussions. I do want to point out two of them, and that's number 3, to develop an efficient research infrastructure, since we've spent most of the morning talking about pragmatic clinical trials, and also number 5, for health equity, because like everything else, cardiogenic shock tends to have health inequities. We're doing really well. Our target for the steering committee was April 2021. We were right on time. The case report form was made much easier by the process I just described. Our registry launch was many months before we planned in February. Site recruitment began in January of 2022. Our first patient enrolled was in March of 2022, almost a year before when we thought. And as you just heard from Ileana, the data will all be available on our precision medicine platform, where multiple investigators can share and collaborate simultaneously. This whole enterprise would not have happened without an important collaboration between academicians, clinicians, the FDA, Nicole, and CMS, and countless other people. We are organized but with a steering committee, and the industry funders, which I should say are right now Gettinga and Abbott, and we also have a foundation that has supported us, and we're actively talking to other foundations. So there are representatives from the Industry Council on the Science Steering Committee, and we have several other subcommittees, including interoperability, the CRF, ECMO subcommittee, and we've just begun research and publication. Things are coming along better than expected, and I'll just say as of the 20th, we have 625 patients enrolled. That's from just 30 contracted sites, but we're engaging with about 119 sites. So we expect to see enrollment coming along quite quickly. We are making a special effort to be in traditionally under-resourced and underrepresented hospitals, and we're saving the little bit of money that we have to really fund hospitals that feel under-resourced and otherwise wouldn't be able to participate, and that's a really nice thing. This just shows our map. We're doing very well where everybody does really well, and we're have a lot of initiatives. The AHA has a lot of initiatives in the rural parts of this country, and so we do have plans to get into the rural parts of this country around cardiogenic shock. We've talked a lot about interoperability, and we have a variety of approaches to make it easy to get the data from the electronic medical record at each hospital into the registry. And we're working with a number of different vendors and are asking some of our sites to pilot with us how to get data, especially out of Epic. And another vendor has been chosen that can work with both Epic and Cerner, and it's something we're interested in, not just for cardiogenic shock, but obviously for all of our registries. These are the contracted sites, which, having sat back there, I know you can't see, but we too are very interested in medical centers that have sort of a hub and spoke approach, because we do want to see real world data, what happens to that patient that's at a small hospital that gets sent in. Our priorities, as I've already said, talk about diversity, the development of initial scientific projects, which we talked a little bit about this morning. We are working with the CSRC for a safety endpoint validation use case, quality, which is going to be really important, and other use cases. So we have ongoing webinars about a variety of things. This is one of the things that sort of characterizes our all of our AHA registries, is that this is a give and take. We send the data monthly or or quarterly, or however much they need it. An individual site gets their data, and we really think of this as an ongoing sort of learning system, learning healthcare system, so that this is not all just coming and going, but a dialogue. So their webinars really discuss a variety of things. So I'll stop there with, and happy to answer any questions, or we can keep moving. Thank you.